Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition here on the NDB Media Network, trekking across the universe on Tuesday night, July 18th, 2023. And heck, if I remember my history, July 18th, 2016, something debuted, if I'm not mistaken, on that day. Hey, it's accidental. We're here. It's all good in the hood. Folks, you know who I am. I'm Roger. I'm happy to be here. My co-host with me, or gatekeeper today, will be Michael Day. Michael, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's a lovely day in the captain's neighborhood.
Oh, here you had to go with the heat. All right, we'll talk about the weather in a moment. It's hot over here in Southern California. I'm going to be complaining all night. But beyond that, ladies and gentlemen, thank goodness we have a special tonight. I'm so looking forward to it. We're excited. Let us know, everyone in the chat room, let us know who you are and where you hail from. Andrew, thank you for joining us. And Fred, thank you as well. Everyone in the chat room, let us know. Well, okay, we know who you are, but why don't you let us know where you are? And we're going to get to it. We have our own Gene Roddenberry in the house. I know he's not going to like that. That's why I said it. So it's all good. Randy Landers. Good evening, Randy. How are you?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's chilly in my basement. It's got a nice thunderstorm outside, and Lexington, Kentucky is a beautiful city to come visit. And I'm thankful, Roger, for NDB Media and yourself and Michael Day for giving us a wonderful platform to share some stuff with our friends, fans, and family.
I'm going to have to mute myself from time to time, Randy. Thank you, because the moment I began to speak, you heard the little rat dog around the other side of the alley, so I apologize. I may have to mute from time to time. But, Randy, if you want to go and welcome everyone. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. Fred's in Lexington. Andrew's also from Kentucky. And Elizabeth and I are suffering on the West Coast, which is very hot. She's in Sacramento. I'm in Pomona. So we can get to it. Randy, have at it, young man. And we are. Oh, and by the way, even though I didn't get a chance to tell everyone beforehand, I know they're going to introduce you all and you're going to introduce yourselves. But, folks, this is a big deal for us. What you guys are doing, this is so awesome. And we get a chance to talk about it. So I thank you for spending your evening with Michael and myself and the rest of the audience. Sorry, Randy. Got emotional. What am I going to do?
That's all right. I always am emotional. Listen, I'd like to thank our guest tonight, Billy Swanson, the captain of the Caliborn. I'd like to thank Tuck Stevens, not Stevens, for joining us from Birmingham. He's the captain of the Deimos. I'd like to welcome Jeff Green to our program tonight. Jeff is the captain of the Potemkin. He's the longest running character we've had. And here we come also to Lawrence Fleming. Can we call you Larry tonight, though, Lawrence?
You can call me anything, just not late for dinner.
Larry has been in a lot of our shows. I mean, lots of our shows. And he currently plays Captain Lacat of the Imperial Klingon scout vessel Qab'elth. Joining us later, we hope, will be Kimberly White of the captain of the Tristan, and Clinton Riddle, the captain of the Webster. But if not, we're still going to have a good time tonight. I do want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We're going to keep our focus on Potemkin Pictures. We're going to avoid politics, other fan films, the current state of Star Trek, because there are so many podcasts that just blow my mind. I hope you're all enjoying the millions of them that I don't watch. So I'm going to ask each of the captains my first and favorite. Oh, go ahead, Roger. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Randy. I just said thank you because you do listen to this one. I am so sorry, Randy. Not at all. I'm jazzed to be here. I'm a fan tonight. So
that's fine. And I hope you and Michael enjoy as much as everyone else will be as well. My first question is going to be to each of the captains, and I'm going to ask all four of you, why did you accept the role of captain? And we're going to start with our senior captain, Jeff Green, out of Leesburg, aren't you? Leesburg, Georgia?
That's where I am right now, yes, indeed. And you were living in Albany at the time. I saw an ad in the newspaper or someplace, and I thought, well, the reason I accepted, for a host of reasons. Well, first of all, I went to this guy's house, and somehow he convinced his wife to let him build the deck of a Starship in the garage for 2 years. I thought, well, okay, that's crazy. So I want to be part of that. I mean, I was a kid growing up. I watched the original series when I was a kid. Used to wear turtlenecks to school and tell people I had no emotions as a weird kid. Those two opportunities, I just thought it was a really amazing kind of project, that an ambitious project that you and your buddies had taken on. And I'm a recently retired university professor, but I was a professor at the time of a campus that was very close. And I saw in this the opportunity to develop a really good opportunity for my students to be involved in an ongoing, on camera, on set experience that we would never have been able to provide otherwise. So both my long fascination with Star Trek, my admiration for just the like I said, the madness of what you had decided to do, and it was going to create an opportunity for my students that they otherwise never would have had.
I always thought it was funny too that you wanted to do a film about a behind the scenes film of me doing turning the carport.
I think a movie about the people that make fan films, it would be an amazing film to make. That would be an amazing movie. And as I've learned more about this world, the more I think it would be a really cool kind of film to make.
Well, I think my wife would agree with you on that, especially since we've currently turned the basement into the studio. I'll turn now to Tuck Stevens. Tuck is probably our newest captain, but he's been with our productions for quite some time over in Birmingham. Tuck, why did you accept the role of captain, in which you are the newest captain?
Seemed like an exciting opportunity to look good in red. I knew it would be a challenge to be a little bit of the focal point, at least at times, but a centerpiece, so to speak, on set, and to need to be on game all the time, every time. So it seemed like a very good challenge and opportunity.
We're glad. Tuck was originally a character over at Tactical. He was in a landing party, and recently we had a cast departure, and Tuck was willing to step in and take the center seat, and for that we're all grateful. Billy, how are you doing tonight, bud?
I'm a box of fluffy ducks.
So, why did you accept the role of captain?
It's the dream. It's come true, right? Like to be in that position with a full starship and to play that role that, I played as a kid when I foolishly was deciding to become an actor early on, watching Indiana Jones, Star Trek V, all that stuff really laid an impact on me, to the point where that's kind of what I wanted to do for a living. And when I figured out that people do that for a living, I was all in. So forever stained. That said, I was Commander Hawkins on the Delia Webster. And so when the opportunity arose, I met the moment, or tried to. And maybe we'll tackle that in another story coming soonish as to how that transition actually unfolded. But yeah, I mean, the long short of it is the opportunity, as Jeff mentioned, like that opportunity arose, and how could you say no to such a thing?
Thank you. And I will tell you that Billy was sitting there in the living room, and I said, "Billy, you want to be the captain?" Jeff knows that experience well too, don't you, Jeff?
Yeah, it was your living room, as I recall.
It was. Larry, how are you doing tonight, bud?
I'm doing great. I've got my fan adjusted. It is hot here, like you said. But the picture behind me, it was hot there too. So it's just you do what you have to do to get this stuff done.
It is definitely the case. I actually had to put pants on so I could be down in the basement.
Too much information there.
No. Instead of shorts, I had to go change. But Larry, you have been quite a guest star in our productions as well as others. And you were our first choice to be Captain Lacotte. And you had appeared from time to time in other productions of ours. Why did you decide to accept this role of captain? I mean, it's a real hardship for you to, I mean, you're driving up from Atlanta all the way to Lexington for this role.
It was a lot easier when you were in Birmingham, I agree. But for you, I would drive across the country. But to put it in perspective, to be a Klingon captain is for the honor and the glory. I've been able to play all kinds of characters, and I'd yet to have a captain position offered. When you offered it, I was more than happy to take it.
Well, we're delighted that all four of you accepted the role, and I'm delighted that the other two who aren't here right now to join us also accepted the roles. I mean, y'all make me look good, guys.
Randy, I want to stop right now. Kimberly is going to be joining us right now.
Oh, excellent.
And I hope she heard the question. I'm hoping she did. I'm going to add her to the stream now.
I would appreciate that. Oh, no, everyone's in a different space.
I know, but, life goes on. There we go.
It's the final frontier. What do you want?
It's technical difficulties.
Can you hear us, Kimberly?
I can.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, glad to have you tonight. Your camera's not quite on yet.
Well, at least we got voice, so let's just go with that for now. Yeah.
So, Kimberly, while you're adjusting your video, let me ask you, you're another one of our characters who was like first officer. Why on earth did you decide to accept the role of captain when I offered it to you? Did we lose her?
I don't know.
She's working on her technology.
Our technology is only limited by our technology. I'll be back in a second to Kimberly.
Yeah.
Let me go on and ask. Let's start with. He's rearranged the order. What am I supposed to do?
Well, that's the way it is.
Let me out. We're in the Brady Bunch queue. Tuck, what about the role of Tim Harper appeals to you?
You gave it to me and you let me play it. We got the name Timothy. I don't know if that's another question, but I just showed up one day wanting to help out, and I was not scheduled to be on camera that day at all, and somebody didn't show up. So that day he came up with the name Tim Harper, and that's the one that stuck, and we've been using that one since that day. So as far as developing this guy, I think that was your question. I hope to get a little deeper into his background and see who he is and see who he's going to become in his new role as leadership.
All right. Do you think that the audience is going to go with you willingly on this journey? I mean, do you think that will interest the audience? What about your character will appeal to them?
The first part got a little modulated.
What about
the
this
character will appeal to whom?
Appeal to the audience.
Oh, the audience?
Yeah.
I have no idea. We're absolutely going to have to leave that up to the writers.
Oh, he's going to put it back in our wheelhouse. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I can't make the words up. we've had some fantastic writers, and the most recent one was one of my favorites because it was extremely.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like it's just on Tuck's end right now. Hopefully,
No
we
problem.
Can, if I get back to that.
We'll get back to him. Billy.
Excuse me a moment, Randy. I want to give a shout out. We have Hilda in the chat room. I believe you saw the comment a little while ago. I wanted to just give her a shout out. We already have 2 likes this evening, folks. Bobby Nash and Elizabeth Olivia Cooper have given us 2 likes, so we thank you for that. Sorry, Randy, please go ahead.
No, I'm glad to hear people are watching. Billy, your turn, buddy. What about? All right. First, you were executive officer and a security chief, and then suddenly you get thrust into the role of captain because I sat down next to you and said, "You want to be captain?" So, what about this role appeals to you? Because Hawk is quite a character.
The initial characterization as written and as performed or attempted to be performed by me was created to be that adventurous Star Trek that some people feel might have gotten lost in the shuffle a bit recently. I mean, they reference it in the Kelvin verse and all of that, but I definitely wanted a character that was focused on the adventure, can be flawed, strong, and sometimes wrong, but willing to learn, because I think that's the example that needs to be out there, that you can have this like masculine force and presence, and it can be called out as well, and they can learn. And just playing on the simple stuff, and I'm writing, so we'll find out how he gets that captainship down the line. But the raw bit of it is that we need some of that classic Trek represented as we try to move forward with new stories that do, play with the mind and bigger ideas. But I think that's a good grounding post for our crew on the Caliborn that's very diverse, always looking to become more diverse. But we need that one fixture to be Star Trek the way some people miss it. And that's the best comment that we get on the YouTube, is people saying, finally, this is my kind of Star Trek, or Star Trek's back. And I like to read that and say, great, you're right, but also you're about to be upset perhaps in how that plays out. But I write the heroes that I'd like to see and that I'd like to play, and I like to give them the flaws and foibles that I've seen in my life, because it's not interesting if there's not a hook, a catch somewhere. And with that, it's also pretty fun to have the strong and wrong commenter be like, that's my kind of captain, but he also makes me feel some kind of way. I don't know what these feelings are. And it's like, buckle up, more cheesecake ahead.
So, Larry, what appeals to you about playing the gruff but lovable Klingon Captain Lakat?
Well, it's an enjoyable role. The captain has to set the tone for what goes on that ship, especially on the bridge. If you don't have everybody working with you and pulling with you, you can't win. And I've got a good crew around me. I'm glad you promoted Billy so he didn't promote himself by eliminating me. But
You're going to make me spit my tea out. Please don't do that.
You've got some excellent writing. And if you want to know where all these stuff comes from, we're just the tools that Randy's using. What you're seeing is him on screen when you're watching us.
I greatly appreciate that. Anyone who's written for us knows that, like Bobby will tell you, several others will tell you, Dave Mack, David Eversole, I do edit and we'll make changes as needed. And one of the things that I've always liked was, Jeff, you may remember this, you had a tendency to rewrite any line at any time, and I never stopped you. So tell me, what about this role appeals to you?
Well, like great actors have played these parts, and so Patrick Stewart, they're worthy. And I was drawn to the project. I was intrigued because of I was just curious, what is the connection with Battleship Potemkin? And I think we developed that connection over time. But that's something that really the allusion to a great classic film that shaped the way cinema is made, and somehow that was going to be re-examined and re-explored across the episodes and series that we did.
And you got a bolt out of it too from the original Potemkin.
That's right.
Huck, tell me, what about this roll appeals to you, buddy? Well,
did you already ask me that? And I said, I don't know.
no, you kind of disappeared on us, so I'm asking it again.
Well,
or are you evading the question?
Well, I don't know. Am I evading? It's possible. No, it's a great opportunity to do a little bit more, and I'm just eager to see where the writers take us in the future with this character and the other folks that we have on set.
The next question I have to ask all three of you to think about, and this leads, Tuck's answer leads into this, is how would you like to see your role change? Now, Jeff, y'all are like one film every other year now, that after a 5-year vacation from doing the role. But Billy, how would you like to see your role change? Or do you want to change it?
I think certain events will inevitably change them. I think he will hold fast, though. I think what happens to his crew and how they work around him, he gets to be, like I said, he's the rock in this situation, and everyone else has to kind of adapt and evolve. And he just has to kind of play the course and mature as best as he can, given the circumstances that he's given. So, yeah, I mean, just growing and trying to survive, I think, is his biggest challenge. So, how would I like to see that play out? I'd just like to see it play out with the crew. And
would you like more confrontations with your crew?
As if I don't have enough already. Always, of course, and certainly, like I said, there's always more to come. Like, there's a lot in the bubbler for this ship. So, yeah, I mean, bigger pieces. I mean, that's, if this is a question of like fantasy booking, then the dream is to have the big shootout in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains or in trench warfare or stuff like that to really hit it hard. But we do what we can. We imply those things, and it works out pretty well. So, in terms of growth, I think a lot of that would be mired in the past, and he's kind of reconciling the deal he made to be where he is presently.
Larry, what about you, buddy? Your first officer is played by Billy Swanson.
Give me growth!
He could have taken me out the last time we were together, and he didn't, so I kind of trust him now.
Well, I was sitting there, both of you had your hands on your knives, and I'm like, well.
I mean, it's a lot of fun, and I don't care where you take me with this, but, when you're done with me, I want a Shatner death scene somehow. And I love the fact that I could work indirectly, at least, with Victoria, so some kind of interaction with Starfleet. That would be more fun to see. More of those. So
you have one more story, and then you have an encounter with the Caliborn coming up. So look forward to that. That should be fun. Billy on like kicks them out, and Billy on the other ship. No, we must. It'd be an interesting time. Jeff, how are you doing? What do you want to see with your next episode? I mean, you've seen the script.
Well, the thing that I'm really it's sort of like that down period when everything shut down provided the opportunity to really live this out, but it was set up at the end of the last episode before we started the renewal. Grigory was always based around the notion of the Russian and the battleship Potemkin and trying to retell aspects of Battleship Potemkin in the shows that we did, the episodes, though not all or exclusively. And then what happened was Grigory becomes a Ulysses kind of figure with that last episode of Calypso. And now I'm really excited about the idea that we're going to try and see if we can't create a series of episodes that retell all the main plot points of the Odyssey. And so the chance to be able to re-examine the ancient Greek myths in the form of this sci-fi format, I think that's really exciting, and it's going to be great fun to do.
Yeah, as you know, the next script is Polyphemus, so we're definitely going to be doing that.
Try Kimberly and see if she can hear us now.
Hey, Kimberly, can you hear us?
Okay, now I can. I can now, yes.
Oh, that's wonderful. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You missed a few of the questions, but I'm going to get you caught up kind of quickly. Why on earth did you accept the role of captain? You were the first officer, so we're going to try to get you caught up. Why did you accept the role of captain?
Well, I was already with Starship Tristan for about 2 years, and you had asked me if I wanted to take on the role because the character's position was available. And so it was exciting to tell a story portraying an interesting character in an unconventional environment. So I felt very grateful for the opportunity and was elated to become captain of Starship Tristan.
So you were in the living room too, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Stay out of Brandy's living room, everyone.
Apparently, if you don't want to have a role, stay out of the living room. So,
That's where it happened, yes.
What about this role appeals to you? I mean, you're Eva Prevet. You're not from Earth. You're from an Earth colony, but it's mostly not even an Earth colony. It's an interspecies colony out in the middle of nowhere. What about that role appeals to you?
Well, it appeals to me because it's a collective effort for all of the crew to be a part of away missions, to work as a team, and to connect with other beings from interplanetary origins while navigating very challenging situations.
How did you pick your character's name?
Actually, Eva is my oldest sister's middle name, and I just went down a list of last names, and I thought Prevet was very unusual, and I just put the two names together.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Yes.
Tuck, you kind of hinted on your Timothy Harper. Did you just draw that, or did you know somebody named Tim?
You named me Timothy Harper.
I did?
Yes, you named me Timothy Harper. I showed up one day and there were people who couldn't make it. And I just got thrown in as, I think, security or something. And you just like, all right, Timothy Harper, bang. And that was the rewrite for the day. So, yeah, you came up with that name, sir. I don't mind it. It's not a bad name. It works. But that's That's out of your head, sir.
Well, I have to warn everyone too. If you show up to the studio while we're shooting, you probably will be given a uniform, a name, and a stand here and press buttons kind of thing. Because I think that's pretty much what we did with you. Is we had you stand there and gave you a couple of lines every now and then, and for which we are grateful.
It was basically a 1-for-1 swap. The person who couldn't show up, I just took their lines for that day.
Yeah. Jeff, how did you pick Alec Grigory?
This has been what, 15 years ago or something?
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact details. I know that these were names of, it's a combination of names of characters from Battleship Potemkin. And I can't remember exactly who the characters were, but Alec was one character and Grigory was another, and we put them together. And there's some underlying reason why that made a lot of sense. So
even we were laughing at the time because Potemkin itself, I mean, it's a set. It's kind of like the Potemkin villages, for which the I guess his name was Alexander Potemkin, was responsible for making Catherine look better to her relatives who were visiting, and they named the battleship for him. And now it kind of got twisted all back around to you. I just thought it was a wonderful name, and when you just say, "How about Alec Grigory?" I'm like, "Yep, got it." Oh, poor Larry. Larry, your name was chosen for you, wasn't it?
Well, if you'd left it to me, I'd be, "Hi, I'm Joe the Klingon." So by you picking the name, everybody can appreciate it better.
I think Victoria picked the name, but we've kept it, and it's really an unusual Klingon name. Do you get any feedback from that, or is everybody cool with it?
Nobody argues with a Klingon. I don't get any feedback. I mean, I've been a Klingon with you guys forever. I had my wardrobe malfunction as a Klingon. Do you remember that?
Not only am I remembering that, I'm still trying to fix that in post.
Whoa. Okay, what was it? What happened?
Larry, you want to tell them what you were doing?
Because unfortunately,
Billy was involved.
Oh, wow! So this was a Super Bowl type wardrobe malfunction?
I had to basically have a little kind of a death scene, and I'm in the gear, and I'm a forehead Klingon. I'm not the TOS one like I am now. And we were doing the scene, and they came up and stabbed me in the back.
Oh,
so I know what that's like. This is the wardrobe one I'm talking about. And I fell forward like you're supposed to do when you're dying, and my headpiece flipped forward, and it was in front of me because it's glued on the front, but you don't have to glue the back, so it fell forward.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that one. That was fixed in post too.
So we really had a Klingon with a toupee?
It was the forehead appliance.
Wow, fair enough, close enough. Wow.
Yeah.
But there was some hair with it, because I didn't have that long of hair.
It was a Shatner toupee
like this.
No,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, it's funny you should mention the toupee. Billy was wearing the toupee as a Romulan and was charging at you, and you were scuttling along, and your sash fell off and was wrapped around your knees, and it's like, oh, I'm struggling to fix this in post. It's a great scene. It's perfect, except your sash is around your legs like toilet tissue. And we're like, oh, no, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got all that gear on. Something's going to come loose.
Yeah, there was a sash. So, Billy, why is it Robert Hawkins, Hulk?
So that is a tribute to a character my father came up with, where he got the name, who knows. He was very big into maritime literature, British naval literature, like Horatio Hornblower, the works of like Master and Commander, with Patrick O'Brien, there you go, and stuff like that. And so when we were talking, he just offhand one day was like, I think Robert Hawkins would be a solid name for a captain of a ship. I don't know why. I just think that would be a solid name. And that's stuck with me ever since. So, when I was doing the D&D sheet for Star Trek D20/D6 and we're role-playing Star Trek, that was my go-to captain name for Starfleet. And given the opportunity, it's like, I'm going to make that real. Like, there it is. So, and that informs the character. That's a big part of the whole, adventure thing, is that I was raised by these old adventure films that my father was really into. Like I don't even know if, like Michael Caine's first big role in Zulu, a film that's probably damned to the sands of time for its problematic nature.
It's a fantastic film and a great performance.
Yeah, there's something, about few win against many, and if you're not down with that, then the hell with you, and there's a great moment in that film where they're under attack and everything's burning, and the guy in the infirmary ward is like trying to fight, and he cracks open a little liquor cabinet and gets the brandy and like licks it up and then keeps shooting to try and fend off, the Zulu army. So good luck to him. But yeah, that's pretty much the heart of it. It was a name my dad came up with, and
isn't Jim Hawkins the character in Treasure Island?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bob Robert.
Yeah. So what is it, Roger, that Andrew said? I couldn't quite read it. There it is. That's what happened to me. Showed up and got thrown on camera to fly a ship. Randy won't abide by bystanders. Well, that's not true. I just put them to work.
It worked out really well for the Caliborn too, because Andrew's one of our great DPs. He really gets the light and the shadow and the photography down for us. Great
He's
with
drone operator.
He's basically the heart of our creative team, along with Robin and Hilda's in the thing. So I'll mention her too. Hilda, the first in command or second in command of the Caliborn, who plays Azani, Vuli Azani. There you go. Beta Z with her black eyes, like a doll's eyes. But there's a paywall for that, brother. Sorry. But I'm glad to see them in the chat. And they have my undying appreciation and love for all of the support that they've given the Caliborn and myself. So,
well, I will tell you that it's been a joy having all of y'all as captains, and everyone has their own little story. But obviously, you don't want to sit in my living room, or you will get drafted as captain. I would also like to ask each of you. You're on a set with 9 other people at least. Sometimes in Jeff's case, it was 12. In Larry's case, there's 12 Klingons on the bridge with him. Outside of yourself and your own character, which character or which actor, doesn't have to be the same, is your favorite to watch? And this time I'm going to start with Larry, dead in the center.
Well, on my bridge, Billy is great to watch, because when we get to go head to head and we're kind of fighting over who's going to really be in charge, he's a good foil to work with. So from that point of view, he is. From the other people, I love working with Victoria. The only sad part about the part that we did together is we did it apart. I would have loved to have been able to be right there working with them.
So let me ask you this then real quick as a follow-up, Larry. Would you like to, like if we're shooting another confrontation, you want to be on the same planet as the Federation captain?
That, if you could come up with a good storyline, I'd love to do that.
Years are turning, my friend.
We're going to have to get the Klingons and the Federation together soon. We know it's in the timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. Billy.
It's a real toss-up between, I guess, Hugs Holton, Sarah Holton, and Hilda, because it doesn't matter what off-the-wall kind of thing we have to say at each other to get that connection to them and see their gears turn and then roll with it, whatever madness is going on. They're basically like the straight man in terms of our bridge. Like, I'm saying something, I'm coming at them with some grand idea, and they have to react, and that's just a hell of a lot of fun. But on the Qab'elth, yeah, I love working with Lawrence. It's the best. Like, someone we can get into the weeds, man, and it's just like, it's a fun dance partner to have, because then I can try some stuff, and we can kind of just tear ass, because we're not burning film, it's digital, so it's a lot of fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
A lot of your co-actors or co-stars were your students.
Mhm.
Which ones stand out the most to you?
Well, it's a really, really, really difficult question to answer.
Especially
have to look
asking a professor to evaluate former students.
Well, I'd have to say, having the chance to do that body of work with them selectively, more than any one specific one, it would be really unfair of me to like set one against the other. It was just a really fabulous exercise, and so great for them. And so many of them have moved on and are doing other things. Chris Gilstrap, for example, is out in California doing Shakespeare and making movies and stuff. I'm trying to think of some of the others that have gone on to work. I don't remember if Alexa was on, but she's a Disney princess now. So that's kind of cool to see how they. Oh, I know. There's another thing about this that, you were talking about playing two different roles in the same episode. We had one of our students who was in one of the very first episodes we did, The Void, and her name is Blair Erskine, and she became a huge, big YouTube performer, and now writes for Jimmy Fallon. And every now and then on her Twitter feed, she'll post up those scenes and complains that she never got an Oscar or an Emmy because she played the science officer and the Klingon captain in the same episode. And that's a really big thing. That gets a lot of buzz whenever she puts that up. It's so funny.
I had forgotten. Yes, she played the science officer and she played the Klingon commander.
Yeah, and she'll still post that on her Twitter feed, which has like a bajillion people that follow her.
Oh.
And so these episodes out of there, and then everybody's like cutting on me because I interrupt her. I was like, what kind of an actor would do that?
All right, Tuck, your turn. You get to tell me, who is your favorite co-star?
It's a pair. It's Dakin and Tathan. They legitimately emulate enlisted force in the military, because they're always doing something they shouldn't or trying to get away with something. They'll do their job, but they're also doing whatever they want to be doing when they're not supposed to be doing it. So they're fantastic in that right, and it's a good little duo.
Kimberly, what about yours?
I would say Alex, because in our roles we work in tandem with each other so much, and we depend upon one another. And I almost started to say I didn't have a favorite, but since it's such teamwork on everybody's part and everyone's role is important, and we have fun and we just come together and get it done.
I have to tell you all that I've always admired actors. I can't act. I can tweak scripts and I'm going to make that look like Star Trek and do my best to fix it in post so that it looks like Star Trek. But I always enjoyed watching all of you, each and every one of you, on screen. I mean, Jeff may remember this. One time we were filming for The Void, and I'm lying down on the floor of the boom mic, and I guess JT is filming us. And you're in the captain's seat, and you're talking to Blair, and I'm just lying there, and I'm watching y'all, and I'm like, this is Star Trek. and JT's talking to me, telling me to do something. I'm like, what? I'm watching Star Trek. Because it was so wonderful as a creator and as a fan to watch something you've made suddenly, like I got lost in the moment. And that was absolutely a wonderful experience. It's happened several times since, but that was the first time it had ever happened. And it was in the void with Blair. That was a great. I can't even remember the young lady's name. That was literally between her, the chair, and holding that mic. And you're like, it's one of those things from Star Trek is you want to be in showbiz, kids, you got to do what you got to do. So I want each of you now to think for just a minute or two and tell me what your favorite production was. And I didn't give you any clue of this, but I want you to think about what is the favorite production that you've done. And do we have any other comments, Roger, that I need to know? Best experience was getting drafted, said Andrew Portwine. Well, thank you. Sarah Sheher says it's always a good time getting to dunk on Hawkins. Okay. So think about it. What is your favorite production that you've done? Now let's start this time with Kimberly.
I would say Sepulcher, because that was my first role as captain, and it was such a joy for me to take on that position.
So it was just the joy of getting the role, the captaincy, and all that. Did any of them strike you as something that, like, this is something special for the writing or perhaps the performances?
Yes, actually, the last one that we did, Sing in the Dark, because it was somewhat out of the ordinary for what we would normally do.
I can see that, because that had to be challenging, and we'll come back to that green screen shortly. Larry, what was your favorite production that you've done for us? And it doesn't have to be one from Qab'elth. It can be any of your favorite productions.
Well, I know I got to sing the Klingon Warrior Anthem. By that time, I had no voice left because I had been saying my lines all day long, and you managed to recover it long enough to put it on screen. So that was one that I really enjoyed doing. But, I enjoy whatever the last one is that I did, and I look forward for the next one so I can replace it with a new one.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. It's so dry down here. I drink a lot of tea on the set. I'll drink a lot of Dr. Pepper as well. But Billy, same question.
Tagging Lawrence's aspect there, that it's kind of the next one. I'm kind of a in the moment kind of guy where I don't focus so much on the past because the future has so much going for it. That said, I have two, because I'm cheating. I have two that haven't been released yet, so I'm going to tease would-be viewers. The next one for Caliborn with Sarah and I is a very intimate and introspective story, and I wrote that.
Can you give the title?
Imperial. I think we talked to Matt Miller about it as well. But Imperial, and I wrote it, and it's a very personal, like very, intimate story. And to see the cast outside of it reminded me of what you were mentioning, Larry, or Randy, I'm sorry, where it's like I'm viewing the story and how it's impacted the production team, and to feel that other people that are working on it are equally like moved by something that I typed out, hoping for the best outcome. And instead, in return, I got an even greater outcome, because that was so fulfilling for me to have people that moved from something that I just put, a little bit of time into, dedicated a little bit of myself into, and to know and to see that people had a similar reaction and made it that much bigger, that, I think that episode's going to be very special. So I think that's, my favorite right now, because it's so impactful for the creating of it. So I'm hoping it'll be very well received. The other turn is that another one that hasn't been released, but the previous Klingon thing, I was getting in the moment working with Alyssa, Mimi Barbados, and, I thought of an aspect as an actor to let's tag this emotion and move a little further with it. And I do a thing that the audience has to wait to see, and I look up after the cut, and everyone's just like, can you do it again, please? But maybe more so. And it's like, yeah, I can do that. And so we did several times, and it was an agonizing delight, but I was glad that my acting instincts worked out in that way. So you'll just have to wait and see what the Qab'elth has to deliver, because that one's a banger. Everybody gets their business in for real. So, yeah, those are my favorites. They're the next ones.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I made you shoot that scene 6 times, but it needed to be.
Hard day at the office.
It was perfect 4 out of the 6 times, yes. And yes, do it again. Tuck, what is your favorite production ever?
I'm going to say, I'm tempted to say Crown Jewels of Xanthorus, because it took 5.5 years to actually get produced, and I got to be a green guy. But
and you're talking to Jeff, whose episode took 6.5 years, so you've got nothing on him. Sorry.
Okay, good. But the most fun was probably when Ichabod and I were in the shuttle coop for pretty much the entire production, and we got a little lost in the sauce, so to speak. And that was a fun, silly, but still on track production.
Jeffrey.
I really think, I can't explain why, but The Last Child, there was just something about the emotional impact of that storyline, and also the arc of the fantasy story. And it was the first time we used a lot of really interesting CGI in the way that it was used in there. It seems to me that was very original. So that's the episode that comes to my mind as something I thought, and working with that little girl who's all grown up now.
I occasionally chat with Rachel up in, I think they're in Indianapolis, and I'm like, yeah, she's not a little girl anymore. Yeah, and that's still, I think, the number 3 most viewed episode of Potemkin. I mean, the audience agrees with you completely. I also want to know is, and several of you have kind of mentioned it, and I don't know because I've never done it. I shoot it all the time, but what is it like working with the green screen? And I'm going to start with you, Jeff. I mean, you had only a few green screens, but...
Well, I'll tell you what was cool was the last project we did, because that was entirely green screen.
Yes, it was.
I'm going to tell you is I lobbied to get that space is about a $20,000 cycloramic green screen.
Gorgeous facility.
I think is at least 30 or 40 feet long, and the wings on it are at least 20 feet. And everybody thought it didn't work, that they'd spent all this money on something that didn't work. And it was just because they didn't know what they were doing. And so when that came out, we were able to say, oh, yeah, it doesn't work. We shot this whole thing in just one little corner of that green screen studio. And in a 20 by 20 foot space. So that was really, really ambitious. It was incredibly gratifying to have a product like that was generated by it.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous facility, and it saved Cali because here we were shooting 6 years after the fact. Goodness, maybe longer. Yeah, almost 8 years after the fact. So it was really great to have
That was the first time anything of that scope had been shot in that green screen studio, and it demonstrated that yes, in fact, it is completely functional and completely possible to work in there.
Absolutely. I don't know who would say otherwise. It's somebody that hasn't used it, because good Lord.
Yeah,
If y'all
people
don't want
have
it, send it to
genuinely
me. I will take it. Tuck, you're a green screen master. Tell us about your experience.
I am a huge fan of the green screen. Seeing all of the places that you've been able to take our get out. No, there's a dog. All the fantastic places that you've been able to take the characters on different moons and planets is fantastic, and creating ways to interact with things inside the green screen, like building up a pedestal when we went in a cave one time. That was great. I'm a huge fan of the green screen, and I think for anybody who wants to make a production but doesn't have the facilities, the green screen can be their way to get there without a lot of overhead. So.
Kimberly, it's your turn. Kimberly is her Starship, when it moved to Birmingham, they lost almost all their physical sets. In fact, I'm looking at some of her physical sets over here right now. But Kimberly, to relaunch Deimos, or I'm sorry, Tristan, to relaunch Tristan, Kimberly and them film in a library with a giant green screen hanging in the background. Tell us what that had to be like, because you've been on a real bridge set before, and suddenly you're in front of a big sheet of green with a chair.
I'm definitely a fan of the green screen. It's amazing how I can pretend that all of that equipment is either in front of me or behind me. And it really brings out the actor in me. And it's amazing how it all comes together in the end. Just to know you were there when I look at the videos and seeing everything that's going around, and to know that was a chair when I filmed it. So it's mind-boggling. I love it.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Kimberly's latest film, you really need to see it. It's on the Potemkin homepage. Just go there, look under Tristan, and it'll be the first film. Steve Gallant did a wonderful job with your backgrounds on that one.
Seeing in the dark.
Seeing in the dark. Thank you. Michael knows I'm having a 62-year-old moment. So, but the whole thing is just mesmerizing to me. That episode came out so well. Larry, you actually and Tuck had a long scene together one time. Tell me, what is your green screen? Do you like them? Do you hate them? You're sitting in front of one right now.
I have been working with green screens with fan films and professionally for years. I actually prefer them. Like he said, we don't have to go out on a planet. We don't have to risk our life climbing a mountain. You just put that behind us and we look like we're just, playing Batman climbing up the side of a building. I was in Spider-Man Homecoming. Talk about green screen. We did the Washington Monument scene where he's coming in to save his friends that are up in the monument. They built the 30 feet of the Washington Monument and an outbuilding. Everything else CGI'd in. They had a 100-foot green screen that completely wrapped around the entire tarmac. Amazing what they did with that. So we get to see what that's going to look like in final production because we don't have any idea. We're reacting to what we think is there, and we hope that you don't put something behind us that's totally different than what we're expecting. They had a TV show like that one time. You're reacting, and there's something, monster behind you. But anyhow, I enjoy doing it. It's a lot of fun. It's acting.
Yeah. That show is Whose Line is it anyway? And they would stand in front of and do like, and we're standing here at such and such, and there's a monster behind them squashing the city. Talking with the mayor about urban renewal, and the Godzilla is just stomping on the city. No.
Yeah.
Billy, I don't think you're a fan of the green screen, are you?
I like practical, but I can work with it. I certainly don't mind. It's in one of my favorite episodes for Hawkins where we had it's an early Webster one, and it escapes me at this moment. But I mean, I graduated University of Kentucky with, honors that I gave myself, but I graduated with theater movement, and that's a real trial for that. That's an attempt to get that sort of thing on there, and I'm, try to be young at heart forever. So whenever I have to work on a console that's just a green drapery, and I'm like, yes, very important stuff. That's just, part of it. That's the fun of acting. You make it real for yourself. The audience will see it real in itself. And that's my Twitter background, is me at this fake computer with this fake background, aiming my phaser to shoot Matthew right in the head. My favorite thing. It was on stun. Don't worry about it. I don't think it landed on the head, but that's where I was aiming.
We shot, who did we shoot? I think we shot Jordan Casalvi, right? I looked at the line on the gun when she fired it, and I'm like, it's hitting him right between the eyes. Okay, let's just animate that phaser beam. That was, and it is a challenge for me in post, and I'm mostly 99% of the time, 94% of the time happy with the results. But for the most part, it's a great tool. I don't know if y'all can hear the dogs clicking upstairs. I need to get their nails trimmed, apparently. What changes? Let me phrase this. Let me give it a little preface. One of the things that we get told that we're doing is, y'all are really putting them out. Y'all are just a production machine. Y'all are just generating them. Do you think that is a good thing or a bad thing? And I'm going to ask Jeff first, because he's shot 37 of them so far.
It's a throwback to the days of weekly serials on television. You got a week to get the next one. You got a week to get the next one. So from the point of view of my students, it was a tremendous experience for them to be able to do that and have that. And they just became so committed to the project and engaged with it. And they took great pride in their work too. So from that point of view, it's a great exercise. It's like summer stock.
I got to tell you, I miss your students and being able to pull them into our. Billy knows what I'm talking about. Wouldn't you like to have like 14 to 16 people you could just, hey, are you available? Yeah, I'm available, Mr. Randy. Come on down. Let's shoot us a movie.
Yeah, let us ask people in the chat room if they have any questions. Please post them, and if they are directed to a specific captain, please do that. If they're directed to Randy, that's great. If you want to ask Roger and I a question, this is not the time.
And I would rather that be asked of my captains. But, yeah, thank you. So Tuck, do we shoot too many? You shoot 2 a year.
Well, yeah, 2 a year is nothing. And when we shot in Birmingham, it didn't feel like enough, and I would show up on other people's shoots and help out behind the scenes. So no, you could probably do 1 a month, and as long as people could show up. That's the hardest thing is herding the chickens who have their own lives to get in the same place at the same time. That's the hardest. I think that's your biggest challenge of everything, is getting everyone to show up.
Very true.
But no, it's not too much. It's not enough, but it's all we can do, because I don't think anyone would not want to do more if they could.
Billy, what about you, buddy?
I agree with Tuck there that, it'd be great to do more, but it's hard. Everyone has a life and different struggles, but and it is voluntary, but given my druthers, this would be my day to day, that's the thing. But, an audience can't miss you if you don't leave. And certainly sometimes things take a little longer to cook in VFX and stuff like that than maybe it does to create. So with that in mind, like if there's an effects heavy one that I have in mind, I'll try and shoot those ideas to Randy faster, knowing full well that we're going to need some kind of space entity, or we're going to need a fight in space that looks a certain way, and get that in the way so that when we do get to film it, there's not that much more of a lead time to wait for it to be finished, because we already have the VFX somewhat in line. But yeah, I mean, of course, more would be better, but we do what we can, and we try to stay current and stay in the public eye as best we can, but it is what it is sometimes.
Yeah. Tuck mentioned one a month. That is basically what my schedule is, except I take August off. Well, I guess that's 11 out of 12 months, so that's not too bad. And then we get interrupted not only by friends and family, but weather can just absolutely kill me. It's like, oh, we're supposed to film today, and there's no blizzard, and we were supposed to film in a blizzard. And I'm like, yeah, we'll fix that in post. And I drew millions and millions of points masking around fingers because people didn't wear the gloves, and little things for their eyes, and literally matted in a snowstorm for the episode Snowbound, which is a Webster production. And if you haven't seen it, shame on you, because you should go see the Webster. I had somebody look at that's a real snowstorm, and I'm like, no, it was 55 and they were burning up.
Ooh.
All right, Larry, too much, too little, just right.
I'm just going to show you a real quick picture. You can't see it. I got a storm coming in, and I'm on satellite, so if I get cut off, that's the reason.
We'll assume Billy executed you.
You put out such good quality work, you could put 10 times out, and we still wouldn't get enough. I like the content, and the fact that you've got all these different crews on all these different ships. We never have a lacking of variety. May not work on that much individually, but all the content, all the people, and to be able to then work with them across the different ships would be something that I'd like to do.
We'll work on that. We'll definitely work on that. Kimberly, y'all are down to one a year. You were doing 4 a year in Birmingham. You're down to one a year, and it's digital. What do you think? More, less?
Definitely more. I love being a part of Starship Tristan. It keeps me excited about being an actor. And there are times when, because of everyone's schedule, we may have a problem getting together, but it eventually will work out. We may have to wait for a while, or maybe choose someone else to portray another actor. But definitely more for me. I'm all in.
Okay, hang on just for a second. I am lost.
Yeah, you did
We can still see and hear you.
Really? I dropped
Yeah.
the phone, and I'm like, holy cow, what did I do?
You may have lost your view, but we can still see and hear you just fine.
Oh, good. So that's good. Maybe it will stay now. I'm going to ask our host, Larry. Michael and Roger. Do you have any additional questions? We've still got about 18 minutes left.
Well, I would. This one. Oh, this is a hard one. Larry, let me ask you this: where do you get the inspiration for your Klingon characters? From Star Trek, or do you pull something else from real life or something else?
Well, I mean, I get it indirectly from Star Trek because I've been going to conventions forever and you talk to these actors who play these roles, Michael Dorn is kind of my favorite to work with, to try to emulate. I like his character. He's done a good job of giving him the human side of it that needs to integrate with Starfleet, basically. But yet he can still be the tough Klingon when he needs to be in front of his peers. And so I like trying to emulate him.
Jeff.
Can I ask Billy a similar question? When you're playing, what is your Klingon's name?
Kodai.
Kodai. When you were playing Kodai, you're an exact opposite of Larry's character.
Yep.
Where do you get your inspiration?
So the fun of that is that it's like stepping into this role without preconceptions. I'm not a Starfleet man. I am doing Klingon stuff. And as an actor, that was a lot of freedom. Star Trek V was too much of an influence on me. So the bodybuilder and his wife that command the ship in Star Trek V definitely influenced me. And I've never had a lack of energy. And where Hawkins has to be reserved, he has to put a lid on certain like actions. Kodai does not. And Kodai's doing kind of a messy, like Iago kind of twist on some stuff. So with that in mind, just go 100%, because then I'm hoping to elevate the crew around me for a coup or just to get motivated to do some stuff. Because at the end of the day, I think that traditional Klingons need to be loud, in your face, just gnarly, just nasty, gach eating, flexing muscles, doing the whole nine all the time. There is no rest, so that their lady can bite them on the nose because they like it that way. That's the stuff. So that's what I do with Kodai, is just kind of take that editor off and ease in that little bit of, malcontent, that little bit of trickery, that little serpentine kind of thing, and mix that all together to just go for it. Because then you're right, that what Larry was presenting, that was the opposite. That was the counter. So that was something for people to watch. That was something to play with. And it's super fun to work with Larry in doing that, because I don't know how he's going to react if I do this, but I'm happy to see what happens. And it's worked out pretty well so far. Bloody revolution ahead. Who knows?
Jeff, where do you pull your inspiration for Captain Gregory from? Originally, he had a drinking problem.
Actually, that developed. I think he did develop it. The underlying ideas are that it has to do with the backstory that he lost the ship and a lot of people, and suffered a pretty horrific injury that he still deals with in his hand, and that he has a degree of post-traumatic stress, and so keeps a real tight lid on things because of that. And also is not above breaking rules and conventions, some of which horrify a lot of the Star Trek fans, that he would go in those directions. He's got a very somebody says he's a patriarch, he's a patrician, but he's got a dark side that comes from his past history.
My favorite comment on you, and I don't remember who made it, I'm sorry, but was comparing you to Rutger Hauer.
I wish.
And you remember that one? I was like, and I saw a movie recently with him, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Jeffrey playing Rutger Hauer playing this role.
I never would have thought of that, but that was pretty cool.
Chuck, where do you pull your character from?
26 years of military service, the original series, and the Next Generation.
In the latest episode, which should be released, I'm hoping in August, Dreamtime, your character has a adjutant, and you're dictating stuff. That's all real, isn't it?
That is all straight out of stuff and term like legitimate terminology in the military.
Can you give me an example of it though, right quick?
Quartermaster, roster, like you have a roster, DTS report, which DTS is your government travel card. And that's for people who are going on leave or whatever, or doing military travel. It's kind of like a TPS report, but you have to get it done or you get in trouble.
See, we were watching Tuck because none of that was in the script, and Tuck is sitting there improvising it, and I'm like, jaw getting because I had no idea what in the heck he was saying, but man, it sounded really good on screen.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, Kimberly, where do you draw your character of Eva Prevet from?
I would say watching Star Trek series, Captain Kirk, Captain Picard, just seeing how they are in command and the heavy responsibilities that they have and the decisions that they have to make. And they can't make everybody happy all of the time. Some will fall by the wayside, but they have to maintain their composure and think of the best interest of their crew.
Yeah, those were interesting questions. Billy, give us a plot synopsis, short one, of your next episode.
Would that be Imperial?
The other one, the one that's in visual effects right now, Formication, without blowing it, because I'm afraid that if I describe it, they're all going to, oh man, what is that? Oh, it's spoiler alert. No spoilers. What is your next episode about?
Formication, you said?
Formication.
Formication. So if you look it up, maybe you'll know.
Yeah.
It's a it's kind of a throwback. Captain Hawkins is taking the cadet, who's too damn young for this, taking the cadet out for a flying lesson. And since she's driving, he spins her a tale of his time on the Webster and a moment that was formative with the shuttlecraft, because he's wrecked a few. So, yeah, that's it gets gross. There you go.
And right now, I can honestly say I'm not fixating in post. Andrew is, so I'm very happy about that. Jeff, tell us a little bit about the next one, Polyphemus.
Cyclops.
Duck, tell us about our next episode for Deimos.
It's top secret and I'm not telling.
No.
I know how to keep a secret. I have a clearance. I have to maintain it. If I start giving out secrets, then I get in trouble.
Okay. And Larry, you don't have an episode that's coming up because we haven't finished your script yet, but I will tell you it involves your landing party and about what? Your landing party and 8 Andorians.
8?
Yeah, there won't be 8 when you're finished, though, I promise you.
It sounds interesting, and I'm ready for it. And I am starting to get a lot of glitchy stuff on the video here, so I'm probably shortly going to be losing signal.
That'll be fine. We're almost done for the evening. Kimberly, y'all are shooting in less than a month. What's your episode about?
It's called Night Shift.
And it was written by Clinton Riddle. Can you give us a hint about what it's about?
Well, I'd rather not.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Fair enough. I will say the first line of the script is, "It was a dark and stormy night."
Yes.
Well, I want to thank everybody that's here this evening. We're about to lose Larry, I'm afraid, and we've survived our thunderstorm. I wonder if there seems to be power in the house, so that's a good thing. Sarah Sheher says, every time I hear formication, I hear fornication. Oh, no. One letter off.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of story that gets under your skin.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Good,
But I do appreciate all of y'all. Listen, y'all are my dearest friends. I thank you so much for coming out tonight. I wished we should have done this years ago, but we're just now to the point that I can think well enough to do this now. Jeff, 37 episodes, Potemkin. It's just outstanding. Duck, 22 episodes of Deimos. Kimberly, it will be 22 episodes of Tristan. Larry, you're all over the place, man. You've only got 2 episodes shot so far for Qab'elth, but you were on Kupak before that, and were awesome first officer, not as Lakat, but as a different character. Billy, I don't know how many you've made. Let's see, you were in a bunch of Websters, and at least 4. And y'all are shooting Saturday, aren't you?
Correct.
Now, what is this a pickup to? Is this more for formication?
Formication, yeah.
Well, I'm delighted that you are all wonderful people, and I have been blessed to have all of you in my lives. I wish you nothing but continued success. I'm going to turn it back over to Roger and Michael and let them conclude our program, do any needed cleanup and paperwork, and edit my comments so that they're not offensive to anyone. Roger?
Do that.
There was nothing offensive in this at all, but I do want to point out Sarah's latest comment. That letter is a D. Use your imagination. It's only off by 1. And of course, Hilda found that absolutely funny. I want to thank I want to thank you all. Being able to get insight into what you do. Look, as I've said, when I've had the privilege of speaking with each and every one of you, everyone who's here watching, and Michael and myself, well, I know he's involved, so I'm a fan. And being able to spend time with you, to have a conversation with you, is just the ultimate. I see myself as everyone in the chat room. And being here and learning from all of you is a privilege. We all get to play in that sandbox that Gene Roddenberry gave us. And you guys are adding those pastels, those shades, those, even to a lesser extent, building blocks to that which we know as Star Trek, which is an ongoing adventure. You guys are doing Star Trek, and it is really good stuff. And I, as a fan, I'm eternally grateful for what you guys do. I know there's a lot that you do, and maybe we can talk about it in the future episode as well. We'd love to have all of you back. Maybe Randy, if he's into it, we could make this a yearly event, or I don't know, maybe 6 months. I don't know. But
as long as I'm not in post.
Okay, well, there's wiggle room with that. So I just think it would be awesome. Lawrence, I know you're on vacation. Thank you for spending. You literally you're on an away mission, and you still make contact with us. And everyone else, Billy, Jeff, Tuck, and Kimberly, as well as Randy. Thank you. You guys are doing some awesome job, and we just hope you continue. And we appreciate the tease tonight. Michael, is there anything else that you want to hit on?
No, that's good. I'd like to reiterate, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks everyone that's in the chat room that has made comments. We're glad you're there. And if you have not seen any of the Potemkin Pictures productions, go to potemkinpictures.com, go under productions, and there's a lot of stuff there.
I'd also like to thank Roger and Michael again for hosting this event, and I'd like to thank our guests once again for attending. Y'all are all wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. And the monkey flips the switch and turns the program off.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys on the other side. Peace. Great quote.